Let's go ahead and jump right in to a few of the ways that you can make money from your yarn and crochet in 2024. Here's how. The first way that you can make money from your yarn and crochet, or knit, I'm just not a knitter, in 2024 would be to start a YouTube channel. And this is not a fast way to make money, but it does have the lowest barrier to entry. Once you get started and get going, you have the potential to make money from AdSense revenue, which is through Google. You also have the potential for brand deals and sponsorships once your channel grows, and you also have the potential to do affiliate marketing and things like a merch shelf through Spreadshop. So as I said, YouTube has the lowest barrier to entry out of all of these ways to make money from your yarn and crochet. You really only need a smartphone. I would 100% recommend getting a tripod to set it on as well. You can use a camera or a webcam, but your quality will be much crisper if you're using a smartphone. I actually am using an older iPhone. I don't even have a new one. It's like a 12, I think. But with the settings on it, I can actually record in 4K. Literally, the phone is all you need to get started with a YouTube channel and start growing it. And of course, it's not just that easy. It can take several years to monetize your channel. That's just part of the YouTube business. It's not an instant thing. But again, you have the lowest amount of expenses and you can literally do it from your home without even doing much research on, business practices for this. And of course, I would recommend that you do look into some best YouTube practices. There is a plethora of people on YouTube trying to tell you how to do YouTube, and some of them are more credible than others. Some of them are more realistic than others. Some of them are trying to sell you thousands of dollars worth of a course, and you don't really need all of that. But I would recommend checking out the channel Nick Nimmin, and I'll have that linked below because I think he's got some really great practical advice. And I also like the channel Think Media, and I am not willing to spend the money to participate in their program, but their channel has some really, really good advice on filming with your smartphone, getting the right settings, like that type of advice. There's a lot of those on Think Media. And if there's a playlist on that, I will link that below as well. Now, the second way you can make money off of AdSense and has a pretty low barrier to entry would be blogging. And blogging definitely takes work. Before I started YouTube, several years ago, I did have a blog, and it wasn't crochet related. It was totally different. But I did take a brief blogging course from the channel Farmhouse on Boone. She's got a pretty big channel here on YouTube. It's more about homesteading type stuff, and I will link her channel. But the course I did through her was only a couple $100, and it really had all of the essentials you need to know about blogging, which would pertain to crochet blogging, yarn blogging, knitting blogging. You could use that for all of those. You do have more expenses. While YouTube, it is absolutely free to start an account. All you need is a Gmail address. With blogging, you do have a few upfront expenses, your web hosting, things like that. Still, as far as starting a business goes, starting a blog is still a relatively inexpensive way to get that going. And according to Lisa from Farmhouse on Boone, it takes a few years, like 2 or 3 years, to really get your blog to have enough traffic that you can make money with AdSense. But, if it's something that you enjoy sharing your journey and maybe you don't want to be on camera, this is a great way for you to still share what you're doing with all of your yarn and be able to, in time, make some money off of that. So first two ways to make money would be a YouTube channel or a blog. Another great way to make money off of your yarn and crochet in 2024 would be to become a finished piece seller. And there's a few ways that you can do this. You can sell your finished pieces online on an online marketplace like Etsy. And it's fairly easy to set up a shop. It is free to set that up. They do take a commission from every sale, but again, they are doing all of the legwork of hosting, of processing payments, and all of that good stuff. So there isn't the upfront expense, but you do pay on the back end per piece. You can sell your finished pieces at markets. So it could be summer markets, it could be holiday markets. Depending on where you live, this might be more or less of an option for you. I follow the channel Katie Being Creative, and she is a young gal and she is fun to watch and she's got a lot of great ideas. She is also very transparent about how she is able to make money as a full-time crocheter. So I will have her channel linked below, but Katie does markets all the time and she lives in Florida, I believe she said. And you know, that probably lends itself, especially if you're in a warmer climate, to more outdoor markets. You know, here where I'm at, I live very rurally. So I think in the town closest to me, you know, there might be like a fall holiday market, and then there's like a few farmers markets. Like there's just not a lot available. So for me, this isn't a very feasible option because for me to really make money off of markets, I would have to travel all the time and probably at least an hour, but probably closer to an hour and a half, 2 hours to be able to find more frequent markets. Along the same lines, you can find a boutique or a store where you can do consignment pieces. Now, I would not recommend a consignment store where the vast majority of the merchandise is, you know, pre-owned. I would recommend finding someplace a little more upscale with newer items, you know, probably preferably, you know, clothing or baby items, whatever it is your finished pieces are, in order for you to get the most traffic and the most people in your target audience. At a consignment store, you just have that feeling, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely love thrifting in consignment stores, but when you walk into one, you are expecting things to be a little bit cheaper, so I wouldn't recommend that for your finished pieces. And then the final way you can do this, that I know of anyway, would be to do custom orders. And I have seen this go terribly wrong for people where, you know, they've spent a ton of yarn or a ton of time and then have someone not follow through. So even if they took a deposit, they are still generally out money and time. So for something like this, I would recommend narrowing your custom orders down to a specific thing that you like to produce. Whether or not you make amigurumi, or you make baby items, or you make beanies, I would narrow it down to specific things. So maybe not beanies, but like women's accessories, you know, things like that. You want to narrow your focus and then offer a certain amount of color choices. And if it were me doing this option, I would try to basically do this more in a local area where I could set up my shop just probably on Facebook, you know, and have like a specific place where your people can pick up your items. If you don't want it to be your home, you can do a public place, you know, Target parking lot, whatever, something like that. Since they would probably be smaller items, you know, not like $200 items, you know, you can charge them up front for that. And, you know, if you want to do your processing through any type of cash app, that's how I would probably do those customer orders, where I would take the $20 or $25 for the beanie ahead of time, have them pick out, you know, maybe one of a couple different styles I offer, and, you know, one of a couple different yarn options that I offer. And I would probably have those yarns in stock already based on what I had purchased and gotten a good deal on. Definitely would not let people run wild with their options. And if you want to become a finished piece seller, I would recommend the channel A Crafty Concept. I have mentioned her before and I absolutely love that channel. Just for the record, none of these channels or anything like this that I'm mentioning, I have no affiliation with them. I just like them. But what Ashley stresses so much about being a finished piece seller is kind of reverse engineering the process and deciding first who your ideal customer is. And I think that's so important because then that gives you a great idea of what you can sell to them. And I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on all of that because she explains it far better, and that's totally like that's what her business is. So you can get way better information, but I'll have her channel linked below. Number one, AdSense revenue off of YouTube or blogging, and then some potential other options for YouTube. Secondly, being a finished piece seller is a great way to earn money. So let's talk about another avenue of sales, and that would be pattern sales. And this isn't going to be for everyone, but if you do have that talent and that ability to create patterns, you should definitely consider monetizing that because you can make money off pattern sales. And a couple ways that you can do that is by selling your patterns by the specific pattern or by selling a group of patterns together. So let's start out with pattern at a time. Most of us have all bought patterns before, and we could be buying it directly from someone's blog or website, or we could be, clicking on a link and it taking us to Etsy or Ravelry or Ribbler. This is a great way to do this, and you'll want to familiarize yourself with those particular websites and how they operate and what their rules are. I mean, as far as any of these options go, you definitely still want to do your research. But I think it's very important when you're dealing with online marketplaces, and this kind of goes back to the last one, if you're selling your finished pieces on Etsy, you want to familiarize yourself with search engine optimization, SEO. And this is how you're going to get found on those websites. I know A Crafty Concept, which I mentioned in the last way to make money, would be a great resource. She teaches about SEO. I believe that is in her course. That is how you're going to get found. That is how to use keywords. That is all the important things that's going to make your shop be searchable on those platforms, and how to make your patterns or your pieces be searchable on those platforms, because there is a lot of misinformation out there, and there's also a lot of outdated information. So if you're looking up videos on Etsy SEO and you click on one from 5 or 6 years ago, it could be totally outdated compared to how their algorithm is run now. You want to be mindful and definitely do your own research there. You can do a lot as far as digital downloads and selling those per pattern. Like I said, we've all bought them, so we know how easy it is just to click purchase on those. You'll want to create a PDF for that. And if you don't know how to create a PDF, there are so many resources out there on YouTube that can walk you through that. And I would recommend getting a Canva account if you don't already have one. When you create your document, as far as when it gets downloaded, you can just hit you want it to be in PDF form. So that will save it to your computer, and super easy. So if you're wanting an example of how to create a PDF, in my video I did on Christmas planning, I created a free PDF, and it is down in the description box of my Christmas planning video. I will have that linked, even though by the time you're watching this, it may be a little late, but that's just an example of a PDF you can make on Canva. If you have a lot of patterns or intricate patterns, or you really want to make a nice product, what you'll want to do is look into Amazon KDP, and that stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. And there's a lot that kind of goes into this. A great resource that I will link below is Gillian Perkins. She has a channel here and she deals with a lot of different business advice, but she has some KDP videos to kind of walk you through what it is and how to use it. But basically, you're self-publishing a book. So you will want to create your book I would recommend through Canva. Again, you can, there's a whole section where you can basically create an ebook on there. So you can put all your patterns in, create all that, upload whatever pictures you want. If you want to add a little QR code, on the pattern so it takes them to a video, you can absolutely do that as well. And with Kindle, it doesn't mean just Kindle. You could definitely have your pattern book be an ebook, in which case you could just put links to videos, but you can do a printed out book. And what's awesome about this is you're not having thousands of dollars worth of expenses publishing a book or finding a publishing company to do it. So that's where the QR code would come in handy, is with a print book. Basically, what you're doing when you make this, you are designing the cover, you're designing the thickness of the cover, what type of material it is, you're deciding the binding on it, you're deciding the type of pages, the thickness of the pages. Since you don't have any upfront expenses, you're not going to be making a ton of money off of this. It is going to be commission based. How great of an opportunity to be able to publish a book like that. Your commission is going to be based on the price of the book you're selling and how expensive the materials are that go into it. So again, I am not an expert on this. You'll want to definitely dive deep and find out a lot more information. But I will say be wary of a lot of videos talking about KDP and telling you it's easy and you don't have to put any effort into it. That's probably not the most reliable information. Again, that's why I'm linking Gillian Perkins on here, because she's a much more trusted trusted source, in my opinion. And I was talking with my friend Sydney from Sweet Pea Sid's Inspirations, and she said that you can also publish a book on Ravelry in like an ebook form as a PDF. So again, that's something you can also look for if you are just going for the digital version. Wrap that up. Pattern sales was my third way for you to make money off of your yarn and crochet in 2024. If you happen to be great at teaching crochet or knitting, teaching is a great way to make money off of your hobby in 2024. So obviously, the very most obvious one would be in-person classes that you'd be teaching. You may or may not have an expense on this depending on how you want to do it. If you have a space that you can meet at, that you can utilize for free, or if you work out some sort of a deal, maybe like with a local coffee shop or some sort of business where your students would be, like encouraged or apt to purchase something while they were there, like a coffee or tea or something like that. Sometimes businesses are a little more apt to work with you in that capacity. Or if you own a space, or you don't mind having people come to your space. If you're starting out teaching and it's people obviously you wouldn't mind them coming to your house. But with strangers, it does get a little different. And in my area, even like our library, it does charge a fee if you want to have something there. So, some of those public spaces don't work quite as well unless, it is a reasonable price and you can kind of roll that into your fee. Another great place that you could teach at potentially would be to reach out to any LYS, any local yarn shops that you might have. Your chain stores aren't really going to be down with that. They have too much to deal with corporate, so I wouldn't even waste my time on something like that. But definitely local yarn shops. And, sometimes if you have other stores that, like sometimes quilt shops will have a small section of yarn. You might be able to, work something out with them, especially if you are using a yarn that they sell. You would want to work out that with them. But another great place to try to look for a teaching space. And another place, if you're a little more techie and you want to be able to reach more people potentially, would be to make an online course. So this one is going to require a lot more market research on your part, but your potential is different in the aspect of you are creating the product once and then it's being resold multiple times. Where if you're doing in-person classes, you're doing that class every single time. So it's much more time invested in it, but much less money and much less research. Where by doing an online course, you are making the product once and selling it over and over. There is a creator called Roberto Blake, and I know I've watched several of his videos. I will link them below, or a playlist or his channel about creating digital courses. And again, like I said, I'm not affiliated with any of these people, and I'm certainly not suggesting you spend money on any paid courses unless that's what you want to do. But once you've done your research on who you can teach to, what you want to teach, where to advertise this course, because with an online course, you will most definitely need extensive digital advertising. That's just the way it is. Facebook ads, Instagram ads. I know nothing about TikTok, but maybe ads there. You will definitely have to market it online in order to get those online students. Unfortunately, they won't just magically know about you and your course. But again, that's something, do your research on and see if that's right for you, because, you know, a beginner's course or like a basics of crochet, or maybe you want to specifically teach, you know, how to make baby items, or you want to specifically teach women's accessories, or, you know, the possibilities are really endless, whether you're looking for beginner, intermediate, or advanced. You know, maybe it's something where if you're already creating a YouTube channel and you're teaching more basic things or basic intermediate here on YouTube, you can have a paid course to teach more advanced students where you might not get as many people that are advanced watching your videos here on YouTube. But by advertising it a little more and mentioning it in some of your videos, those advanced people can go over to your paid course and do something, you know, that you've created that's really intricate and fantastic. So there's a lot of options as far as teaching online. The last way to make money off of yarn in 2024 is not crochet or knit based. It is strictly yarn. So I've got a few ideas here, and the first couple are going to be super duper easy and don't require really any upfront expense from you. But the first one is going to be checking through your yarn stash, maybe selling off some of those pieces that you don't really use or don't think you'll use. And I want to suggest a couple ways to do this to make it a little more appealing and enticing and searchable once you have created that Etsy store and done your research on SEO. First one would be discontinued and vintage yarn. If you have been a yarn addict for a long time, and you might have yarns that are decades old in your stash that are beautiful, but you don't know what to do with now. If you look at discontinued yarns, I know there's a space, I believe, on Ravelry where you can look and people are offering suggestions on what to use that's comparable to a certain yarn. I think there's a website even called like yarnsubstitutions.com. It can be a great place where you can look for that, and then be able to market and sell those yarns individually, whether or not it would be profitable or not. Another great way would be curating mystery boxes. I know there are a lot of YouTube creators who have sold mystery boxes on Etsy. This is something where you kind of need to decide who you're marketing it to and what you're doing. I don't recommend, you know, putting in like your worst yarns ever that you just want to get rid of, because, you know, nobody's going to want to open up a mystery box of duds. Maybe you have bought great yarns on clearance or just over the years, and, you know, this would give you the opportunity to curate some really nice mystery boxes, especially if you're a person who does like frequenting sales, but you just don't find yourself going through the yarn as much as maybe you had thought. You can curate mystery boxes based on the yarn weight, which I think people always love, just because I know I don't like using every size weight of yarn, and we all have our favorites. The weight is a great way to classify your mystery boxes. You can also do by colors. You know, people, I mean, if you've ever met a person who's favorite color is purple. Like, they love purple. They get purple everything. So, you know, that's just an example, but that's a great way. You know, purple mystery box or project mystery boxes where you have enough to do a whole project and it's all coordinating colors that would look great together. You could do baby mystery boxes. You could do Christmas mystery box, Halloween mystery box, all sorts of opportunities there. Maybe help recoup some of the money you have spent over the years if it's something you think you're just not going to be using and that someone else would love. Consider selling some mystery boxes. And this kind of goes along with, you know, maybe you're just a person who loves going out and getting these things on discounts. You can just curate yarn sets and resell them as well. You know, that's a little bit trickier because they need to be sold in a way where the person receiving them is still getting a value less than if they went to the store, but it needs to be sold at a price over what you purchased it for and to make your time worth. But again, if you have some of these in your stash already, or if you're a person, like I said, who goes to all those clearance sales or finds fantastic deals online where you can curate a yarn package for someone and resell those. Another way that you can make money selling yarn, which requires definitely more market research and definitely an initial investment, would be becoming a distributor of a yarn brand. A great example would be ice yarns. I did a video like a month or so ago, I think it was in October, where I've wanted to try ice yarns for a while, but the shipping scares me off. So I ordered some ice yarn in a small mystery box, a couple small mystery boxes from Gia at the Yarn Nut. And her shop is seasonal. So she right now I think is closed down for the most part, but that's what she does. She is a distributor of a yarn company. So I'm definitely not saying do exactly what she does, but that's something to research if you're interested in that. If you just really, really love yarn, you know, maybe becoming a bit of a distributor might be a great idea if you have the time and the resources to go into purchasing the product, storing the product properly, finding out the shipping costs and figuring out what would make it work. You need to do a business plan is what I'm saying. This is a business. Like, this is a real business. Not that the others aren't, but there's a lot more invested in this type of business. That's something that would be super cool to do. I'm kind of wondering, I don't know, I've never ordered from the company Crochet, but I think that might be a similar situation with that company, but don't quote me on that at all. If you know or you've ordered from that company, let me know in the comments how your experience was and if it was kind of the same type of thing. And then another great way, if you are actually like my friend Sydney and you are purchasing fiber, and I think Ray's Yarn Addiction, and I'm not sure about Bella's Crochet Gifts or not, but if you are purchasing fibers and spinning them into yarn, or if you're a person who is buying yarn and dyeing it, I know Bella does that. Those are great opportunities where you can then be selling that. If you're already making it for yourself, consider amping up your production a little more, doing your business model and investing in the products you need and the equipment you need. Begin monetizing that hobby by growing it larger. And again, I know I've said this a million times in this video, do your research, do your market research, find out, make sure it isn't cost prohibitive, all of that good stuff. If you're already enjoying the process of spinning your yarn or dyeing your yarn or both, consider amping up your production and selling it commercially. So there you are. There is 5 categories of ways that you can make money from yarn and crochet in 2024 with multiple subcategories in each of those. I would love to know if you have made money from yarn or crochet or knit in any other type of ways. Please let me know down in the comments because I think that's something we can all benefit from, and especially as we head into the new year and we're looking for new things, and it's just a great time of year to really start and work on building that business. I want to thank you so much, especially if you stuck with me till the very end. If you like this, I do not do a ton of business content if this is your first time watching me. This is actually my very first business video. It is primarily all crochet and yarn, but if that is your thing, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and join me again so we can talk more yarn. Thanks, guys.